Hello everyone, what is happening? What's going on? This is Tanvir Syed and welcome to the next video of this short video series about my experiences as a visually impaired person, moving from country to country, especially in the education system. All right, I've decided not to use my headset microphone right now because I did realize that there is a bit of an issue in terms of audio balance, and I tried to resolve it using the previous video and Adobe Premiere Pro, but even though as much as I tried, it did not seem to get resolved. So I decided, you know what, or maybe it did, but not to my satisfaction. But I thought, you know what, I'll try this video without the headset microphone. I'm sorry about these long pauses because I freestyle all my videos, or most of my videos. I do freestyle them. Like, I don't read off a script, because reading off like I mentioned before, reading off a script is like reading off a teleprompter. It doesn't feel organic. All right. So here I'm going to talk about my experiences in the UK, and yes, I believe I can take the name of this university because it's just reporting a name. It's not reporting a single person or a single copyrighted formula of a soft drink or nothing like that. It's just a name, and it's a pretty well-known name. Okay, let's say it's like Santander. In the UK, a lot of people will know what Santander is. Okay, it's like Tesco's. Everybody knows what Tesco's is. In the UK, it's like Asda. They know what Asda is. Okay. Now, just to give you a bit of context, I graduated January 2008 with my high school degree. Okay, and I was very close to A's. And I thought, I believe my mathematics I got 79, and biology I got 77, and mathematics, one of the papers went horribly. I believe it was the mechanics 2 paper. And had I gotten even just a few percentage points there, I would have gotten A in mathematics. And I thought, that, because I believe I was an A student, and I thought that more closely revealed my true potential. I never thought I was 100% or 98, 97% student. But A was between an 80 and 100%. So I believe I fall, even maybe in the lower end of that range. I believe I was in that range. So I thought a 79, 77% was more close to, reflected my true potential more closely. Anyways, with that, I started applying. And there's a certain organization where I grew up, and I believe they're actually a bit international. They have operations all around not all around, but many parts of the world. They actually specialize in exhibiting many universities from around the world to recruit students, or to recruit prospect students. In fact, I wanted to represent the university that I've been to, but I don't know. That they have their own policies, because the person that they sent over, there was a huge disconnect. Okay, I might get to that a bit later as well, but when I met this person, I'm like, of all the people, why did they send you? And I believe I might have expressed this to that person as well. Like, man, I'm sorry to say this, but they should have sent someone a bit more relatable. But anyways, so after searching, I selected the University of Leeds in the UK, and this is actually recommended. They have some pretty good systems. I actually applied to, I believe it was somewhere in Hamilton, in Canada, and I wrote to them several times. They did not respond to me. I even met one of their representatives, like the university out of Hamilton in Canada. I spoke to one of the representatives in person. I wrote to them. I believe I even called them. No response. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm not going to stand outside your door, just keep knocking and keep knocking on the door, waiting to be opened, while there's a hallway full of doors, and not try the other doors, before the entire building shuts down. I'm not going to do that. And there's a difference between persistence and stupidity. Because if you just stand outside one door until the entire building shuts down, all the offices shut down, you don't consider yourself persistent. You consider yourself stupid. Okay. So knocked on the University of Leeds door, and they said, yeah. I told them I wanted to do Biomedical Sciences, but and before going, I was a bit iffy about doing a foundation year. But you know what? I said, there's nothing to be iffy about it. I might as well do the foundation year. Okay, so I went into the foundation year, and they said, yeah, we can take you into Biomedical Sciences, because that's what I wanted to be like, and I remember, I actually wanted to be a doctor, but I remember when I was when that whole dream fell apart, and I started tearing up a bit. I remember where I was as well. I was eating at a Chinese restaurant, I would say. Okay. So I decided, okay, I'll go into biomedical sciences, human physiology. So they said that we have one condition: you have to fulfill the chemistry requirement, because last episode I told you that I could not take chemistry. At the high school level, I could not take chemistry. So they said that you have to fulfill that requirement. I asked, do you have the facilities, University of Leeds, to help me finish that requirement? They said yes. And mind you, I had no idea on what these facilities were. I mean, granted, back in the days when Alitalia were still flying and the lira was still the currency, the official currency of Italy, I flew. Look, I passed by Italy. I passed by the United States. East Coast, United States. I passed by London, and and then I went home. So I did not have an idea of the I did not have an idea of the actual educational system and accessibility in the educational system. And to be honest, the people who were representing the universities, I don't think they did either. Okay, there was another condition I had to fulfill. It was I had to do an IELTS exam. IELTS exam is the British equivalent of a TOEFL exam, but it's a bit more rigorous. So went on to the British Council, the same song and dance routine, that okay, bring your own scribe. However, at one point, this is one of the examiners, they said that, okay, I will repeat this question only once. And I believe it was like a listening exam or something. And they had a makeshift scribe or reader-writer scribe. And I thought that was like in hindsight, I thought that was a bit unreasonable. Like, if something's written down on a paper, you're going to repeat it to me only once. Given how much research I have done into information retention, depending on how they're received, I thought that was unreasonable in hindsight. But back then, and see, okay, just to digress a little more, like I've been watching a lot of videos about the Soviet Union, and one of the things that fascinate me is that people had to be satisfied and make do with very little and whatever they got. Like it was, the deficit was to the point that they would rather take what they got instead of complaining too much about it. Okay, where I grew up, obviously this is a way after the collapse of the Soviet Union. So, like, you know, like I didn't even grow up like anywhere close to there. But where I grew up, I was sort of under that mentality that I had to stop complaining and be happy with, be content with whatever, you know, bits and pieces, the breadcrumbs, if you will, that I got. So yeah, I had to make do with that. Did good enough in that. I mean, I did retake the IELTS. No, I did retake the IELTS over here, and given that, like, you know, I have a better understanding of the laws, and no, I make no apologies about this, and neither should I, and neither should any other visually impaired person or disabled person. Okay, but you know, be reasonable about it. When I did the IELTS exam here, I took my reader, writer, and scribes. I took them, I won't say to their limits, but I took them to a straining point. Not their limits, but I put them to their test. Because I've been doing this reading, writing, scribe thing for a very long time. I tested them. I said, okay, repeat this. And like I told them exactly where to repeat, and they said, okay, yeah, I'll repeat it. Yeah, yeah, this is essentially a way to test their skills. I'm not gonna be satisfied with just someone that you throw last minute and call this person a scribe with no skills. Like, no. Okay, but anyways, I'm sorry for digressing too long. But this is what happens in these type of unplanned, unscripted videos. Not unplanned, unscripted videos. It's more of a podcast format. Okay, so I did good. Moved on over to the UK. And by the way, I don't know if this is way too late to say in the video, but this is going to be a long video. Okay, because I'm going to cover the entirety of the University of Leeds experience. There was another university, but this is only the University of Leeds experience. Okay. Then I went on over to the UK, and this is when I had my brother help me out. Because, and oh my god, I even remembered this, man. Good lord. There was one point I was even asking the airlines. I'm like, okay, I need a basic service. I just need someone to receive me at the gate or whatnot, terminal, okay, and show me to my seat. And then once I get off at the other airport, take me out of my seat, okay, because I'm in a new airport, okay, help me collect my luggage and send me on my way. They said that Get someone else to do it for you. I'm like, are you going to pay for the ticket? He said, no. No, it's an extra passenger. Get an extra passenger to do it for you. I'm like, okay. Okay, this is how it is, huh? Good Lord. Okay. I mean, later on, it turns out that, like, the person who I was talking to actually had no idea, because there is an actual system like this. To help out passengers with disabilities. There is an actual system. Okay. So I landed in Heathrow, and that I never landed in Heathrow again. First time I came, I landed in Heathrow. Good Lord! Because I had to take the train up to Leeds from King's Cross. Me and my bro. So we 5.5 hours, 6 hours in line, and you had some stupid clowns. And this is the first time I noticed this, because when I went in the early 2000s, when I visited London, I did not notice this, but this time I noticed it. You have a lot of these third world clowns, not the respectable people, the clowns who barely seen two buildings, who's after stepping outside of the village, and somehow they managed to get a visa and a ticket to London, and they think they're bigger than every other person in their entire community, in their country, because I'm going to London. Yeah, you got a lot of those clowns. I'm like, wait a minute. I've seen all of you back in the country where I was coming from, because they used to do the exact same kind of thing. Like, back in the early to mid 90s, they did the exact same thing. Like, oh, I'm going to this rich country. Yeah, you better respect me. I'm like, what are you going as? Like, it doesn't matter what I'm going as. Like, I'm going as a cleaner, or no, nowadays they're called custodians and whatnot. Okay, yeah. I'm going as a waiter or a cleaner, like a custodian and server, I believe they're called. Yeah, but yeah, you better respect me. Like, hell with that. Anyways, so after that, had to lodge in a hotel for a little bit, like, a hole in the wall. My brother showed me around the campus, and essentially that was the first time, and believe me, at that time I couldn't have been happier, because back where I was, although it was very good, and like I was very sheltered and I was very accustomed to that place, I did ask around in those universities. Like, you had big universities, or supposed big universities in that country, but all of them said no, that you're legally blind. You're blind. We can't educate you. And I was to a point where I was like, I was 21, okay, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live with my parents anymore. Like, I can't be like, I need my own independence. And I was about to run away from home. I'm like, yeah, I know my parents taking care of me, but it's this sense of like being like, at one point you start feeling trapped. I'm like, nah, you know what? I'm just gonna run away from home, just live on my own for a few days, and then maybe come back. Thankfully, at that time, like, I got into the University of Leeds. My bro also, like, from what I heard, like, he kind of teared up a little bit. Said that, okay, you know what, this you're gonna live alone from now. I'm like, yeah, I know, I'll manage. Like, because I'll have to manage. I can't, like, be like dependent on somebody forever. Yeah. Long behold, good Lord. Actually, that's what ends up happening to a lot of disabled people throughout their lives. They actually end up depending on, someone else their entire life. But anyways, over there, I my brother, he sort of showed me the basic ropes on what to do, where to get stuff and whatnot, where different things are. And the University of Leeds were very nice to me in regards to, they actually put me right next to another visually impaired person. And this person, he was British, and he helped me out a lot. If you know who you are, I'm not going to take your name because of liability issues, but if you know who you are, thank you very much. You helped me transition a lot into making use of technology whilst being visually impaired. And I was a bit skeptical towards the beginning. I was because I came from a very sheltered background. So coming out of the shell, it takes a little bit of time in some aspects. Okay, so I learned the ropes and got introduced to using technology and whatnot, and learn my way around the university. And the support that I got trying to learn chemistry, unfortunately, it was the best that they could do, but it was not efficient. I mean, overall, it was the best that they could. It was the best that anyone could do. But the system that was there, it was that was available in the entire world that time. It was not efficient. It was not, and it was not practical. It was actually no different than when I did high school biology whilst I was in high school. And if you remember, I did not need to be examined. Okay, but moving on, made some friends who I'm still in talks with today. I mean, I actually spoke to someone just a few hours ago, who's in the UK. So yeah, got a bit of the taste of independence. Actually, got a big taste of it. So, and this is why a lot of people take this for granted. I don't want to let it go. And neither should I want to let it go. Okay, 2009. I was told by someone that there is blind cricket. I'm like, okay, let's see what it is. And I will not forget this. And I actually spoke to the person who was there at that time today. He said that how it worked out is that the University of Leeds actually contacted him, said that there's a blind person, he wants to play cricket. Can you guys help him out? He said, sure, bring him over. The first next session was at the indoor grounds at Headingley. The indoor facility at Headingley. And from there, the rest is history. Every year I played, we won something. And believe me, Yorkshire cricket, those were some of the best days of my life. Will never forget it. And actually, there's the first time I realized that, I got a sense of being in a visually impaired community as a group. I mean, obviously, mentally I was past a point of development, but still, that was the first time I saw so many other visually impaired people all at once. I'm like, damn, why wasn't I born here? Why was I born where I was born? Why wasn't I born here? Okay, but moving on from that, I made some friends I made music with, and oh my God, the UK, there's, listen, there is doing some things for the first time as a college student, and then there is doing some things for the first time as a disabled college student coming from the third world country. Because you have no footsteps to follow. Most of the time, you have no footsteps to follow. The other visually impaired person, like he was not as much involved with the university in terms of student society that I was. So Leeds Students Radio, Leeds Students Television, the Jiu-Jitsu Foundation. Yes, I'm a yellow belt in Jiu-Jitsu. Got this close to an orange, but like I was told that my problem is my disability. That I know the moves inside out. I just cannot evade attacks on time. And by that time, I was like, it was getting time that I dropped out of jiu-jitsu anyways, because my courses were getting more strenuous. Okay, Yorkshire cricket. So yeah, I've done bits and pieces of many things, like produce music, perform at events, perform with celebrities on stage, perform in intermission part of events, there's a fashion show, we perform there, had my own music video shot, did many things in the UK. But also, like some people might not find this appealing, but I marked it off as another thing that I had to do as a visually impaired person. In the end, I found another visually impaired person, but he dropped out after one session. Professional wrestling. I did this for a year. I trained for professional wrestling. For almost a year and a half. In fact, I took a few sessions under Kid Cash. Like he had the House of Grind thing. He tried to start that up in the UK. I was there when he tried to start that up in the UK, House of Grind. In fact, he tried to start it up with the wrestling school I was a part of. I even took part in one of their house shows. I was in a dark match. So yeah. Unfortunately, I was on a student visa, and a student visa had its limitations, and everything was going I won't say hunky dory, but they were moving along, and throughout my education, I was Zoom text was still out, but I was still using the Windows magnifier without the narrator. And sometimes I was using the Windows magnifier with the docked screen on top. Anyone who has done physical reading using Windows magnifier, it is much more difficult to read long passages of text using a docked screen on top compared to the entire screen. And like I said, I came from a country where I had to make my own accessible technology. I had to break open a 10 by 50, the eyepiece of a 10 by 50 binocular as an improvised reading device. Okay, this worked for a certain level, but moving on, it did not work. And I took my reading device as well, like the $1,500 reading device as well. I took it to the UK, bought a 39-inch LCD screen, which I had till the end. Even the TV got extremely outdated. The PC got extremely outdated. I mean, it started the fan started sounding like a blender. That's how you know this computer is it's gone. It's way past its prime, or it's way past proper usability. But yeah, I had those, and my visually impaired dorm mate introduced me to other accessible technology as well, and I purchased those as well. I purchased some of those as well, and also I got some assistive technology support from the Snowden Award Scheme, and I'm extremely grateful for that. That they decided to provide me with some scholarships to in terms of purchasing accessible technology. And there was also helping out with transcription, because I had everything blown up, and blown up as in enhanced, magnified, zoomed in, if you will. So all the texts were much larger, all the books I had to read. And it turns out that this was a bigger inconvenience than it was an asset. Okay, if you want all the normal sighted people, if you want to know what it feels like, okay, a book that you have that you just read like this at a certain distance, try reading the same book with the words really close to your face and reading everything line by line. It saps your energy in minutes. Very, very draining. That being said, when it comes to short passages of texts, it's a good alternative to have, the large print. It's a good alternative to have. But when it comes to large volumes of text, you're better off using a hybrid between large print and audio. And it wasn't practical for me to in terms of storage space, I had limited storage space. It wasn't practical for me to keep piling up such big, just after maybe 2 months of classes, this high of transcribed material that I'm supposed to read only once and then throw. And I really felt bad. I did not want to throw them away, because the person that was typing it out, I felt bad for him, man. But they were meant to be read only once and then disposed of anyways. So everyone else gets to dispose it, but I have to keep it for some reason. And I said, you know what? No, it's an impractical demand of me. I'm going to throw it away as well, because it's meant to be thrown away. So, but we came I managed to find a way to dispose of them properly and whatnot. Because if it's an article meant to be read for just one class, and just read this article and come up with it, come up with the answers tomorrow, and then the article it loses its usefulness, what am I supposed to do? Yeah, practically, with limited storage space, what am I supposed to do? Exactly, dispose of it. Okay, but after that, I still couldn't get quite a hold on how to properly use the technology to assist me, because I still did not have a proper idea on what was available to me. Because, like I said, I grew up trying to manage around a system that was not made for people with disabilities. So I had no idea. It's like a kid in a candy store, okay? And you have to fill your basket out with the best combination of candy, and all you grew up with are sugar cubes, are like bits and pieces of sugar cubes. So so like there was a faculty meeting at one point, and basically I was informed at one point that, and this is towards the end of my courses, like this, and I said, like at one point of the conversation, he said, "We need to know how to help you." And I said, "I don't know. I did not come from a system that has assistance for visually impaired people. This is why I kept asking, what have other visually impaired students received in terms of assistance in this program? I need a point of reference so that I know, like, what to expect in terms of a challenge." And then I was told, "You're the first visually impaired student we've ever taught, right?" And by that time, I mean, I had a hunch at the back of my head that, am I the first? Maybe I'm the first visually impaired student they've ever taught. It's because they're acting as if they've never taught a visually impaired student. I'm like, if no one came through, well, obviously they don't have the experience, but I am certain, because this is the mentality of the third world country. If there's a unique case, like, I'm certain all the big countries, and we literally use this word, Borodesh, yes, all the big countries, the UK, the US, the Canada, I'm pretty sure they will have a solution to my problem. Because I'm pretty sure they're way more advanced in thinking and technology and approaching, and solving many problems. But from my experience, I'm like, wait a minute, there are many points where they're kind of clueless. And I thought of, like, shrug this, brush it to aside in my mind. I'm like, no, it can't be that I'm the first visually impaired student. Then when I heard it, I'm like, wow. And that's when it first started to hit me that, okay, this is a big problem. And then I started to look at the visually impaired people around me, especially the youth and whatnot. I'm like, wait a minute. Where are the visually impaired students at the college level? I'm like, wait a minute, there's a problem here. I mean, yes, there was another visually impaired student, and I actually, like, liked her, liked her. Okay, she was a visually impaired student from Tanzania. Like, she was a very good-hearted person. Like, but I think she went back, but she studied law. She didn't study science. She studied law. When it came to science, I'm like, wait, where is everyone? And that was my first inkling, like, okay, there's a problem here. But also around that time, it was when David Cameron came in, and he stopped the post-study work visa program. And the post-study work visa basically states that if you were an international student and you pass with a Bachelor of Science honors degree, and back then, all of us, if you get enrolled, by default, you're doing a bachelor's honors degree. Like, especially in human physiology, you're doing a Bachelor of Science honors degree by default. So I'm like, if I just graduate, I get to think they will give us a 2-year visa automatically, where I can basically sit around and try and find work. 3 months before I graduated, they shut that program down. Because my ceremony was in July. My graduation ceremony was in July. April, they shut that down. And I remember I was livid, absolutely livid. I'm like, how can they get away? Like, have they not considered the consequences? And in hindsight, no, they have not. They have not considered the consequences because, I'm sorry to say this, but a lot of people with disabilities and who are in this kind of situation, they don't consider, like, this is never factored in. And like, they don't make enough noise. Not all of them, but a good amount of them. Like, not as much as I would like. Or not as much as what is needed. Like, so certain people with disabilities. Not as much as what is needed. Anyways. So I also got my first taste of employment whilst I was in the UK. Like, and this was like, pretty good enough for me as well. Like, I had, like, for prospect students, my room was selected for display purposes. And just to digress a little bit, the University of Leeds, the accommodations, man, where I stayed, the accommodations were so good. And I mean, you had to pay a premium amount for just a little makeshift bathroom of your own. But if you don't mind sharing a bathroom or sharing bathrooms, the biggest, like, I got the biggest room that was available. The biggest room that was available, you had a twin size mattress like the one you see back there. You had a single bed, you had a love seat, and you had 2 single couches, and you had a coffee table, and you had 2 study tables, and you had your own basin. You had, I believe, 1 or 2 closets. Yeah, I mean, wow. And I'm like, wow, man, I miss those days, man. The only problem was, like, you had a shared kitchen and you had a shared bathroom, and a lot of time wasps would fly through. And let me tell you, wasps are, they every time you see one, they're pissed off. Because they keep buzzing aggressively, like, in a particular area. They are pissed off. And that's one of the reasons, like, in my house, whatnot, I never open a window, because if something flies in, it's staying there. Because I can't kill it. I need to see it to kill it. Like, if it's a wasp or a bee or something. Yeah, so just to put it in a nutshell, the University of Leeds did the best they could, and I really appreciate them for that. But the system that they had, it also reflected a deficiency in the overall support structure. As good as it was, in certain aspects, especially in education, there were severe deficiencies that are still there to this day. But when it came to living, believe me, I miss living in Leeds. Especially when you talk about accessibility, where every single road that you crossed had that little machine that told you when to cross and when not to cross. It was to the point, and the roads were narrow. The roads were not like super jumbo jet containing highways. No, the roads were narrow, and to cross it, it didn't take too much time. So it was to the point where I could, like, let's say I had to go to Sheffield, or I had to go to Bradford, or I had to go to Wakefield, or I had to go to Manchester, or even London. Like, if I use the train, and the train system was really good, man. It was amazing, really good. Really affordable, very helpful staff, very useful markers, very efficient announcements. Hell, even when I had to go to Castleford, that's right, I went back and forth alone in Castleford. This is when I first discovered a recording studio. There's a pub right next to the station. I went there, I said, okay, I'm legally blind. Could you help me call a cab? And they said, no. They said, no worries, love. We'll help you out. No attitude about it, nothing. So yeah. So it was to the point that, if I got off in Leeds, the Leeds train station, or, I didn't try Foster Square, but Bradford interchange, I could literally walk from the train right up to the university campus and to my room. Without using a blind cane. Because here's the secret, I did not start using the blind cane until I came to the United States. Over there, without using a blind cane. If I had to get something from Game, there's a store called Game, or Sports Direct, or McDonald's, or something from the shopping mall, Foot Locker, I just find out where it is, go and ask someone. Very nice people. They helped me out. Even when I had to pay council tax. Yes, there's one point where I had to pay council tax. I found out where the office is, went down to the office, they helped me out. So like I said, at a base level, the structure is there to help people out a lot. But on a higher level, on a higher functioning and training level, that's where the deficiencies really start to show up. So to put it in a nutshell, Leeds was perhaps, albeit they still had their deficiencies, and this is not due to any fault of their own, but in terms of just basic living and basic commuting abilities, Leeds is the best city that I have lived in that provided this type of service. I did not live in London. I did not live in Manchester. I've been to these places. I did not live in Sheffield. I did not even go to Newcastle. Okay, I did not live in Hull. I did not live in York. I lived in Leeds and I lived in Bradford. So, unfortunately, my Leeds term had to end after my graduation. But yes, it is a place I really miss. And if I had the opportunity, and once things improve, because after I left, I've kept hearing mostly bad things about the UK and how they treat foreigners, especially brown skin foreigners. I know this is not the case in places like Bradford, but you get those odd people here and there. And no, I'm not expecting the opposite, where I will, I'm not expecting total compliance and total capitulation. No, I really hate that. I met some people here today, not today, one day, and they said that, I'm so sorry for what, and they were blonde, white. I'm so sorry for what my people did to your people. I just looked at them and said, listen, stop right there. You're Scandinavian. You have a culture and history too. Okay, yeah, it's not perfect. No one's culture and history is perfect. But the good things that you have, don't ever be ashamed of the achievements that you have made. Be proud of the good things about your culture and history. So yeah, when I was there was a healthy balance, but right now the balance seems to be a little broken. But once the balance returns, I would love to return to the UK. And given the work that I'm doing right now, I have a feeling I can get a lot more done in the UK because the technology is there, the people are there, the resources are there, and if you put some hard work into it, might perhaps even the funding would be there, and even the marketing would be there. Because the UK is not big. Like land area wise, the UK is, England is not big. All right. So hopefully that sort of painted a bit of a picture of my life in the UK, in Leeds. Next episode, I'm gonna touch on Bradford, and Bradford's not gonna be that long because I didn't. Leeds I stayed 4 years. Bradford I stayed like a year and a half. So yeah, if you have any comments or any questions, please put it down in the comment section below. And once again, I'm sorry this is a bit of a long video, but yeah, I'll try and correct that or make that better next time. And if you have I would love for you to hit like and subscribe. I use that always as motivations for me to make more videos and keep working towards making content to raise awareness for the visually impaired as much as I can. All right, this is Tanveer Syed signing out. You have a nice day.